innocence movement has been around for roughly 30 years. It started with the advent of DNA testing, and folks really started to understand that we had wrongfully convicted people when we did DNA testing that proved that somebody had not committed a crime. At that time, a number of innocence organizations started popping up around the country, based mainly at that time in law schools, and the Midwest Innocence Project was one of them. The Midwest Innocence Project accomplishes our work through three main areas of focus. The first is our legal work, where we directly represent people convicted of crimes they didn't commit. The second is through research, where we investigate the causes of wrongful convictions and create policies and structures to prevent those wrongful convictions in the first place. And the last piece is social work, where we help support those we serve both pre and post-release.
Of all the work that MIP does, the biggest central piece is the legal side of the work. And we have a process that all cases and applicants go through when they apply for assistance with MIP. They go through an intake process, a screening process, and then we really dig in and we start investigating and litigating cases. We do that by talking to witnesses who maybe were never interviewed by police during the initial investigation, or who were interviewed but we think they might have additional information to share. We're really doing a deep dive into the case, leaving no stone unturned and trying to build up a theory of innocence for a client.
A lot of our research is based around some basic contributing factors to wrongful conviction, whether that be flawed forensic science, eyewitness misidentification, official misconduct, things that we know contribute to wrongful convictions. It's not just the lawyer's responsibility to come up with solutions to wrongful convictions. It's something that impacts everybody, and we can draw on knowledge from other disciplines to get answers that we may not have thought of. It's not just about representing innocent people. That's the most important part, that's essential, but it's also about what this work can teach the rest of the system about its own shortcomings.
When it comes to reentry work, think about everything that you do on a daily basis, everything that it takes to be an adult in this world. And now imagine trying to teach someone else how to do that. That's what we do. Typically when someone comes home, it's not uncommon for them to have certain struggles that are very similar to what you and I have every single day, but because of their wrongful incarceration, they were exacerbated.
The work of MIP is so important. Not only are we extricating men and women from wrongful convictions, returning them to their family, resetting the balance in our criminal legal system, but we're also focused on efforts towards legislative policy, from preventing wrongful convictions to also creating a better pathway for innocent individuals once they've been identified to make their way home.
Your funding allows us to help more people and move more cases forward. Right now, the average length of time someone serves wrongfully incarcerated before they are exonerated is 9 years. With your support, we can shorten that time. For more information, go to our website at www.themip.org or follow us on social media.
Good evening, and a warm welcome to all of you gathered here today at the Midwest Innocence Project's annual Faces of Innocence event. I'm Andrew Brain, MIP's board president. It's an honor to stand before you and express my deepest gratitude at your presence here tonight. Tonight, we come together to celebrate the unwavering spirit of those who faced unimaginable adversity and yet have emerged as beacons of hope and resilience. Our event tonight is a testament to the power of unity, compassion, and justice. MIP has always been dedicated to righting the wrongs of our criminal legal system. We firmly believe that every individual, regardless of their background, deserves fair treatment and a chance to prove their innocence. This evening, we gather not only to showcase their stories of those who have been wrongfully convicted, but also to shine a light on the flaws in our system that must be rectified. As we bear witness to the Faces of Innocence tonight, we are reminded that the pursuit of justice is not a solitary endeavor. It takes the concerted effort of dedicated attorneys, passionate advocates, and folks like you that make up a community united in its pursuit of truth and fairness. Together, we can challenge the status quo and strive for a future where wrongful convictions no longer exist. Tonight, we amplify the voices of the wrongfully convicted individuals who have had their lives forever altered by a system that failed them. We honor their courage and determination as they inspire us to continue our fight for justice. They are a living testament to the strength of the human spirit and the power of hope. But we must remember that our work does not end with this event. It is only the beginning. We must continue to fight for legislative changes, raise awareness, and support those who have been wrongfully convicted. Our commitment to justice must remain unwavering, and our voices must grow louder. To everyone with us tonight, I encourage you to brace this opportunity to engage, to learn, and to most importantly, take action. Together, we can make a difference. Thank you all for being here, for supporting the Midwest Innocence Project, and for standing alongside us in our quest for justice. Welcome to Faces of Innocence.
Welcome and thank you. It is always such an honor and joy to stand in front of such an amazing group of people. People who not only care about an injustice, but do something about it. People who speak out when they see wrong and who make our united vision of justice a reality. This event, for me, is a time of reflection, a time to look back on how we've continued to expand the place of justice in our world. And last year, I stood here and I told you about all the incredible successes that we were able to achieve with your support. This year is no different. But before I begin, I want to tell you instead a story about what justice means in our region, specifically what justice means here in Missouri. And tonight, I want to tell you the story of Lamar Johnson. 28 years ago, in 1995, Lamar Johnson was convicted of a murder he did not commit. Two men, Marcus Boyd and Greg Elting, were sitting on a porch at night when two men wearing ski masks that covered everything but their eyes ran up to the porch and started firing. Marcus Boyd was killed, but Greg Elking escaped. At trial, the state relied on two pieces of evidence to convict Lamar. First, the identification of Lamar made by Greg Elking, who was on the porch that night. And second, the testimony of a jailhouse informant who said he had overheard Lamar confess in the jail to someone else that he had committed the crime. But over the years, the evidence of Lamar's innocence became to light. Greg Elking came forward and said he was coerced, he was pressured into making that identification of Lamar Johnson, and that in exchange he received benefits from the state, including thousands of dollars of payment that never were disclosed. The two real perpetrators came forward and confessed that they had committed the crime, and Lamar Johnson was not involved and had nothing to do with it. And evidence about the jailhouse informant's long history of coming forward to ask to testify in other cases in exchange for leniency, and the benefits he himself received from the state was revealed, all of which had been suppressed by the prosecutor at the time of trial. Lamar had all of this evidence. He took all of it to the courts in hand and presented it, and they wouldn't even give him a hearing. For decades, he fought this conviction on his own. And as a result, almost 10 years ago, we joined Lamar in his fight. We continued to investigate, and we actually asked the city and the prosecutor for evidence of this payment, submitting requests saying, Greg Elking said he was paid, we would like to see those receipts. And we were told such documents didn't even exist. Fast forward to 2018, a new prosecutor, Kim Gardner, has been elected in the city of St. Louis, and we approached her office and said, we want to talk to you about this case. And she listens. and her office investigates. They pull the file from the back and they find inside of it a blue folder that says, "Did not disclose," and inside of it, the records of those payments and our requests asking for them. Convinced of Lamar's innocence, the prosecutor filed a motion to overturn his conviction, but the Missouri Attorney General's office opposed it, arguing not that Lamar Johnson wasn't innocent, but that the prosecutor didn't have the power to overturn an injustice in her own jurisdiction. The case was litigated for years, all while Lamar waited. And finally, in April of 2021, we lost. The Missouri Supreme Court said they agreed that until the legislature changed the law, there was no way for a prosecutor to overturn a conviction. And at that moment, even though the prosecutor herself believed Lamar was innocent, that was not enough. Lamar Johnson was not free. And it was a dark day, not just for Lamar, not just for all of us, but for justice in Missouri. I tell you all this not just to tell you about Lamar and his case, but to tell you how much your support means to us, and most importantly to our clients. Because it was because of you that we did not stop there. It was because of you that we were able to keep fighting, and because of you, the very next month, the legislature changed the law. That law was also used to free Kevin Strickland. And in 2022, that prosecutor filed a new motion to vacate Lamar's conviction, and a hearing was held. And on February 14th of this year, Lamar Johnson was freed because of you. His was just one of many homecomings. Because of you, just 2 weeks ago, our client Celeste McKinney and his also innocent co-defendant Brian Betts were released on parole in Kansas. Not yet exonerated, but free to stand with us as we fight for justice for them. And because of you, just yesterday, an Iowa court issued an order vacating the conviction of our client, Jason Curtis, who has served over 10 years, not just for a crime he didn't commit, but a crime that didn't even occur at all. And because of you, because of your support, we will not look away when we see injustice. But like we know from Lamar, our work is not yet done. If we've learned anything from that case, our work is far, far from done. We believe that innocence is enough to free someone from prison. And we won't rest until we have a system that supports that. But just last year, the Nebraska Supreme Court ruled that innocence does not matter in the case of our client Antoine Young. It found that in Nebraska, innocence isn't only not a reason for you to get out of prison, it's not a reason for them to even let you into court to present the other constitutional violations, something the United States Supreme Court says it is. That is not justice. And we believe innocence is enough regardless of someone's sentence. Here in Missouri, the court recognizes innocence as a claim to get out of prison only if the defendant was sentenced to death. So for defendants like our clients, Rodney Lincoln or Chris Dunn, who can prove their innocence, but who were sentenced to die in prison and not at the hands of the state, the system says, too bad. There's nothing we can do. That is not justice. And it's not justice to have a system of justice that treats you better if you're rich and guilty than if you're poor and innocent. Wealth, not culpability, shapes outcomes, and with your support, we will continue to stand with a community in Wyandotte County, Kansas, to fight for justice and accountability for the victims of Detective Roger Golubsky and other corrupt law enforcement who for decades sexually abused poor black women and assaulted and wrongfully incarcerated poor black men with impunity. That is not justice. And it can be easy in these moments for someone to look at all of this, all of these big issues and say, that's too much. To be discouraged. The challenges we face are vast. Our opponents are mighty. Each day we go up against the state, who has all of its resources and power. And we have a single innocent and defendant in a court standing with an under-resourced group of lawyers against centuries of power and precedent. But even in the face of that, we have hope. Even today, when we know innocent people like our clients Robert Fields, Cedric Warren, and Aman Mann are still waiting to be freed, we have hope. Because in every case, everywhere we go, and everywhere we work, you are with us. In every moment when it seems like an injustice may win, we know you are on our side. And we know that you will make justice not just possible, but undeniable. Because every time you speak out against a system that is wrong, every day that you speak truth to power, every time you share the stories of our clients, injustice is diminished. And so tonight, I want to thank you for all you have done and for all we have yet to do together. Because there is much work left to do, and we aren't giving up, and we know that you aren't either.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Mvion Payne. I will be doing some spoken word for you. In America, they tell us all lives matter, unless you are poor, or sick, or displaced, or until they don't, or rather, you are too dark, which is to say too African, to claim pure-blooded American ancestry. Then in that case, here in America, we say Black lives matter, unless you're gay, or trans, or a woman. In that case, in America, you can be mother, martyr, marauded, murdered, missing, still milk carton missing, but they will not miss you, will not mourn you, will not march or make murals in your name, will not even mention you or your name like men in America. In this place, they will treat your vagina like a black hole, hungry for hands and your humanity, suitable only for sucking your memory into a forgettable oblivion. In America, they will not media frenzy for you. They will not release multiple Amber Alerts for those who are amber-hued, will consider online-only activism enough for you, will not cover your casket with concern or consternation, will not hashtag at your grave, will not give a damn that there are fates worse for you than the grave. In America, we will say to the world, bring back our girls, as if there were not so many here in this place called America already lost. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Lamar Johnson.
And my name is Lawrence Callanan. We are proud to stand before you tonight, present the Justice for Innocence Award. Without this year's recipients taking on our cases and weathering unbelievable challenges and heartache, neither of us would be standing here right now.
The recipients of this year's award have gone above and beyond to free the innocent. Their dedication to assisting the wrongfully convicted has helped with the release of many of MIP's clients and others that were suffering under wrongful convictions. So tonight we recognize their tireless efforts to free and exonerate the wrongfully convicted and reform the inequitable systems responsible for unjust imprisonment.
Both of these recipients are, of course, brilliant attorneys, but there are other characteristics that we, as those that they helped free from those cages, that separate them from the rest, and that is the tenacity that these two women have is amazing. Their courage to take on the most powerful people in the country and the most corrupt at times without fear is amazing, particularly when you're sitting inside and no one wants to get near you out here because of what's going on. Yeah, I mean, they take on the powerful to protect the weak, and that's a rare thing. And you know that they've so to us, they're not just lawyers. They're not just friends. They're family, and we love you.
On behalf of the Midwest Innocence Project, it is our honor to present the 2023 Justice for the Innocence Award to our lawyers and dear friends, Ms. Cheryl Pilot and Ms. Lindsay Runnels.
This year, we are ecstatic to present the Midwest Innocence Project's Justice for the Innocent Award to attorneys Cheryl Pilot and Lindsay Runnels. Cheryl and Lindsay are two incredible justice advocates, longtime civil rights attorneys based in Kansas City, who have worked both together and independently to right a lot of wrongs. They've been responsible for the exoneration of a number of individuals, including Lamont McIntyre, Larry Callanan, Daryl Burton, Ellen Reasonover, Pete Coons.
You know, I didn't go to law school to do this. I went for an entirely different purpose, and then I had a clinic at the University of Missouri, Kansas City School of Law, and I did the Innocence Project and the Death Penalty Clinic, and I knew I couldn't do anything else, really, at that point. And so from my second year of law school on, this is pretty much all I've done.
Was walking down the hallway at a firm I worked at as a young lawyer, got flagged by a partner, asked to come into a conference room, and was introduced to an investigator from another Innocence Project who was looking for a lawyer to work on a case in St. Louis. And it immediately appealed to me.
Yeah, I mean, the partnership that Morgan Pilot has had with Midwest Innocence Project goes back to the founding, really, of MIP. I'm on the board. Cheryl Pilot, my boss and the partner here, is one of the founding board members.
I love MIP. You know, I've watched it grow. from an organization that was operating out of a teeny tiny room at UMKC Law School into the very strong organization that it is now, operating in multiple states, taking on some of the toughest fights.
You know, there's no better partner in every sense of the word. I mean, we're aligned in how we litigate cases, we take difficult cases, and I wouldn't want to litigate these cases with anyone else.
Every day, I feel like we move the ball at least a little bit and bring some of the clients closer to their day in court and the day when they will hopefully get justice. It is just amazing to see what it has become over its relatively short life organizationally. About 20 plus years now, and what's been built is truly amazing and has made a big difference in the lives of many.
She's a beast in this field, and I think of Lindsay like a sister, and as much as a sister as a friend. And we've had our highs and our lows, but she is very unique and very caring and supportive, and I couldn't say enough about it. Thank you for saving my life. Thank you for being my friend. Thank you for believing in me.
And it's only because Cheryl and Lindsay care so much. And people see that, and they build trust with people. Because you understand that the heart of what they're doing is trying to help, it's trying to seek justice, it's trying to make the world a better place. So certainly there's a lot of lawyers who can litigate a case, can cite the law, can find the facts, but it's the hearts of Cheryl and Lindsay that set them apart from just so many other people doing this work.
We're both overwhelmed and speechless, so forgive us for a minute. Thanks so much. One of the perks of speaking, however briefly we're going to be up here, is we get to give some thank yous of our own. And there are a few people I really need to thank who have made this work possible and have supported me throughout it. Lindsay has her own peeps too, so I'd like to say thank you to my daughter, who is here, and from the time she was a tiny tot, grew up with this, from writing closing arguments with crayons to accompanying me to all kinds of places and keeping my spirits always about as high as they could be. My son, daughter-in-law, and granddaughter are supporting me and the work from their location in Alabama. And my husband, who is the world's best husband, could not be here today, but he is a stalwart supporter and makes sure I get dinner every night because he's a great cook. And I'm not. I'm like way better at law than at cooking. In fact, there's no contest. And then I have to thank my law partner, Melanie Morgan, law partner of 15, almost 16 years now, who couldn't be here tonight because of a loss in her family. And she's just been amazing. I mean, she's the air we breathe and gives us life every day at our office. And I am so, so, so very grateful for her. A lot of law partnerships, you know, don't always last. But here we are, almost 16 years later, and we still love law, and we're still pretty crazy about each other. So thank you to Melanie and all the people from our law firm who are here, as well as the MIP people, who I'm absolutely crazy about, and still can't believe I get to work with those fantastic folks every day now. And thank you, of course, to Tricia. I've been around long enough that I literally remember when the Innocence Project operated out of a small room, maybe a closet at the UMKC Law School. And much of the success that you all see today is due to Tricia Bushnell and the team she works with. So a huge applause for Tricia. So.
All right, I'll make my thank yous, I hope, brief, but I am humbled and overwhelmed to be recognized by colleagues and lawyers and supporters whom I admire as much as I do all of you. It goes without saying, but I'll say it anyway, any success that you saw on the beautifully done video is the result of a small army of infinitely talented investigators, paralegals, lawyers, and so all of those folks I see out here today, they are with us from the losses, those gutting losses, all the way to a hearing and through to exoneration day, but it is the work of many and never one. And then a few words of personal gratitude, which will fall infinitely short of describing the gratitude that I have. My family of origin is here tonight, as they are for everything good, bad, indifferent. They are always there. And I would highly recommend to all of you to get a tribe of people who may not be able to describe what you do, but believe that you are the best person ever at it and will continue to encourage you. They're here, as they always are. And there's the family that I chose, Jay Rizzo, the senator from Jackson, who listens to my righteous rage and then rolls up his sleeves and does something about it. He is our strongest advocate and ally in a legislature that would prefer to forget our clients exist. Sophia and Ella are here, two tiny little humans that I get to call mine, who give more to this cause than they should have to. And then there's the family that chose me. The clients, for whatever reason, gift us with the responsibility and the deep honor of telling their stories and trying with others to save their life. And I've never really been able to understand or articulate how I got chosen to be that person, but it's an incredible honor to tell those stories and to stand up for them and with them. So thank you. I love you guys too. And we're going to close with just a few words about the work that you make possible.
words are what fill our lives day to day. We talk, we write, and I noticed that Lindsay used the word tribe, and I thought, looking out at all of you, what we see is our tribe. We see family, we see friends. I see the many people I've gotten to know and love in the course of doing this work, and I want to say I'm grateful for the many folks from Kansas City, Kansas, who have shown up here and have expanded my field of vision, our field of vision, to encompass the many different ways that people can be victimized by the criminal, sometimes injustice system. And so I'm very, very glad they are here. We're so incredibly grateful and happy to be here this evening, and together we get to take a moment to relax, take a deep breath, refresh, and we celebrate while knowing the immense and necessary work that lies ahead.
We are only able to do this incredible work because we know that you, all of you, have our backs. Your commitment to justice, your passion for this work, and your support of the Midwest Innocence Project is extraordinary. For your ongoing, unfailing, and absolutely necessary support, we thank you.
Because of you, and I'm looking at each one of you, many, many of whom I know, but because of you, we're able to persist through all of the countless challenges that these cases present, because at every turn, you had our backs, and we were able to
track down witnesses who never had been interviewed by anyone or had been induced or rewarded to lie.
We were able to track down old evidence, often buried in files and dusty cabinets, turning up witness inducements and documents that had never been turned over or seen the light of day.
Obtain forensic experts who helped us build a case based on physical evidence.
Obtain other resources that we needed to build the case for innocence while tearing apart the false case that had delivered our clients to prison, often for decades.
Because of you, people like Kevin Strickland, Lamar Johnson, Ricky Kidd, Larry Callahan are all here and free tonight after decades of wrongful imprisonment.
And because our vision is big, another shout out to Tricia, we've also been able to obtain vital changes in the system that will reduce future wrongful convictions. Interrogations in serious felony cases in Kansas are now taped, and eyewitness identification procedures have been improved. In Missouri, prosecutors now have the right to file a motion to correct a wrongful conviction. Go, Lindsay.
None of this would have been possible without the incredible support you have provided. Every day we fight for our clients, we hold the system to account, and we go after injustice wherever it tries to hide. And we know we can do this only because you are here at every turn and have our backs. Thank you so much. Another job. Lawyers are often out front, just like this, the visible ones. But the true advocates in these cases are the wrongfully convicted themselves.
They fight not only for their own lives, but for justice for others. Here is just one example of these stories.
One day Lamar and I were walking the track and he had to go to the law library. And he said, I don't mean to cut it short, but I have to go to the law library. And I said, oh yeah? What are you working on? He looked to his left and his right. He said, I know you may not believe me, and many people say this, but I'm actually innocent. And I looked to my left and my right, and I said, you know, many people might say this, and you might not believe me, but I'm innocent too. And we both broke out laughing. And he said, no, I'm serious. I said, no, I'm serious. And it was just that moment where we was looking at each other. Both were in prison for crimes that we didn't commit, and we became friends before we even knew it. We made a pact on that same yard, and we turned to each other, and we said, listen, we don't know who's gonna make it out first, but whoever does, promise to come back and get the other. And it was a deal.
I lived in St. Louis City, and my story is probably the same as a lot of guys who grew up in the inner city. I grew up in a particular neighborhood that was a hot spot for police officers who tended to target young black men who lived in that area. One of my friends, short story, was killed as a result of it. And I was immediately suspected by the police, and the train left the station, and I ended up coming to prison. Well, in the beginning, I was more hopeful. I thought that it would all turn out, the system would work, and I would be released. But that's not how it ended up.
Lamar was convicted mostly on the testimony of 2 witnesses. The first was an eyewitness who the police pressured into making an identification of Lamar, and the second was an incentivized informant witness who testified that he had overheard Lamar make an inculpatory statement. He told the jury about that at trial, and he was given a deal in exchange. And those 2 witnesses and what they testified to, their false testimony at trial, it was compounded by the fact that the state committed misconduct in Lamar's case. There was information relating to the eyewitness that they did not disclose to the defense. In addition to pressuring Greg Elking, the police had also paid him and paid for his family to relocate, paid utility bills for his family. The jury never heard that information. It was never turned over to the defense. And same thing with William Mock, the informant witness. There was a bunch of information that the state never turned over to the defense, and that the jury never heard about William Mock's criminal history and his history of being an informant witness.
Fortunately for me, unfortunate for him, I came home August 15, 2019, after being exonerated, and had to turn back over my shoulder metaphorically and see that Lamar was still languishing inside a maximum level 5 prison. That didn't sit well with me. And so I immediately began working with the legal team that he had already had in place, playing my role in making sure that we was to elevate the awareness of Lamar's wrongful conviction until we brought him home.
I mean, Lamar Johnson's case is a clear case of actual innocence. I mean, there was no doubt that he did not commit the crime for which he was convicted. On the one hand, it was an easy case in that sense. There were so many things wrong with it. On the other, it was one of the most difficult cases of my career, and I think it will always be that.
But as I'm sitting there, I don't know, I was in total suspense. Once he told the bailiff to pass out his opinion, Lindsay and Charlie Weiss, they did exactly what all of us who read opinions do. We go directly to the back because it tells you exactly what the ruling is.
Circuit Attorney of the 22nd Judicial Circuit filed herein for the benefit of Lamar Johnson is granted.
I happened to make it first, but I honored the pact. And with the legal team of the Midwest Innocence Project and the many other lawyers who helped push Lamar out the door, February 14, 2023, I was able to watch my best friend come home after 28 years of being wrongfully convicted, and now we get to go from PAC to impact, and that's what we look to do together, is to create impact in our criminal legal system.
Back on the streets.
So emotional. Such an emotional evening for many of us here tonight, and for many reasons. I want to start off by telling a real quick story. In 1919, the Barnum and Bailey Circus Show had its humbling beginning, starting with the act of getting people to discover that there was something to see. And so, they hired a guy with a wheelbarrow outside of their building to circle the block with laying bricks that led back to the building. With consistency, people began to follow the bricks inside. And what they discovered was one of the best shows on earth, the Barnum and Bailey Circus Show. Here at the Midwest Innocence Project, although we are not the Barnum and Bailey Circus Show, we are consistent, not just in taking cases of innocence, but winning cases of innocence. In fact, if the courts have allowed us in, we have consistently won, helping the American people discover that we have a wrongful conviction crisis here in America, and an urgent one. One we cannot solve without the support of individuals and partners like yourselves. Together, we're making national news, raising awareness, bringing innocent folks home, and we're fighting to change policies that prevent wrongful convictions in the first place. Truth is, ladies and gentlemen, when I say that we are the Midwest Innocence Project, it also includes each and every one of you who has shown up to support. Support that we will continue to need to continue to win. During this evening of celebration, inspiration, and hope, I would like to invite you to join us in our Fund a Need Ask. With an amount of $50, it helps us buy stamps to communicate with our clients by mail or have the ability to accept their collect costs. with an amount of $100. It helps us buy office supplies to help keep the office running efficiently with an amount of $250. It helps to send our staff up to prisons to visit privately with our clients. And with an amount of $500, it helps send our investigators out in the field to conduct interviews and gather information to support those clients' innocence. $1,000 helps fund DNA efforts to clear our innocent clients. And $5,000, $10,000, even $25,000, it helps us to retain intake staff or fund our investigative work and allows us to continue to advance in the mission of this important and urgent work. If the Midwest Innocence Project is the engine, then you all are the fuel. And we don't get to go far without you. However, with you, we are continuing to drive to prisons and bring innocent individuals home. Together, and I do mean together, with your support, we are the Midwest Innocence Project, and we are making a difference. So please, please, whether you're at home watching or with us now, I want to ask that you pull out your phones. If you're so inclined to pull out your phones, there's a QR code on the back of your fan, or there's a QR code in the bucket that's sitting on your table. And again, if you're inclined, I would like you to scan that code. I'm about to do it. I'm going to do it because together we're doing it. Simple. You click donate. No thank you. I'll just like to donate. Skip past the tickets because we're already here. There's a dollar amount to select. I'm going to select $50. So you may be able to see. I'm going to continue. And so that I can skip past, I'm going to skip the message. We're delivering the message right now. I'm going to click continue. And to make it easy, I'm just going to do Apple Pay. So I ain't got to enter my information. You see it, click that twice for those who have Apple. For those who don't, you should get Apple. Just joking, just joking. And a couple little spins, voila. There we go. That's simple, but yet that important. And so I donated 50, but for those, feel free to donate whatever you're inclined to do so. And if you already have donated, if you've already shown your support for what this organization is doing, at this time, we'd like to extend a very sincere and huge thank you. Thank you so much from our hearts to yours. There's more to the evening as we continue, and I hope you will continue to enjoy it. Thank you all so much.
Hello. Thank you so much for being here with us tonight. I'm Summer Farrar. I'm here with Rachel Wester. Rachel is the managing attorney at Midwest Innocence Project. The managing attorney maintains an active caseload while also supervising legal staff and interns and overseeing all aspects of reviewing, investigating, and litigating innocence cases. Rachel makes sure that our clients receive the highest standard of representation and that each member of the legal team has the guidance and resources to do their important work. Rachel's been with MIP for 8.5 years.
And Summer Farrar is our project manager. Summer coordinates our research program, and she helps to manage MIP's case audits. working with experts to conduct research on the hallmarks of wrongful conviction, like flawed forensic science. And Summer's been at MIP for 8 years. During our years at MIP, we have seen so much change. The organization has grown tremendously, and we've seen many innocent people come home.
In our time at MIP, we've seen the staff grow from 5 to 16. We've had the privilege of witnessing the homecomings of Floyd Bledsoe, Janelle Pratt, Richard Jones, Lamont McIntyre, Rodney Lincoln, Faye Jacobs, Ricky Kidd, John Brown, Kevin Strickland, Anthony Dixon, Michael Polite, and Lamar Johnson.
And we've also observed firsthand that wrongful convictions don't happen in a vacuum. They are almost always the result of systemic problems in our criminal legal system. And MIP works to address those issues and to change the system for the better.
When you support our organization and our work with financial donations, you help in 2 central ways. First, by ensuring we can give excellent representation to our clients so we can fight against the many obstacles in our way to ultimately prove their innocence and secure their release from incarceration. Second, your support allows us to use what we and others have learned about the criminal legal system to prevent future wrongful convictions. One way we do this is through prioritizing collaboration with researchers so we can tackle problems from multiple angles.
For example, eyewitness misidentification is a leading contributing factor to wrongful convictions, and it's an issue we've been focusing on in recent years. Because this issue is found in so many of our clients' cases, we have learned a lot about how misidentifications can cause wrongful convictions and how to improve identification procedures. Right now, we're working with researchers from the City University of New York's John Jay College of Criminal Justice to understand even more about eyewitness identification, specifically how people end up in identification procedures to begin with.
Please join us in watching this brief video highlighting our work with eyewitness identification.
The biggest thing that will affect whether a witness makes an accurate or an inaccurate identification is whether the perpetrator is in the lineup or not. There's some research that's come out that, about 40% of police officers say they'll put a suspect in a lineup just based on a hunch. There's no real connection between the suspect and the crime. They just think it's a bad person, so they throw them in there and let the witness sort it out, right? The witness's memory will tell us if this is the person or not. Or they will take evidence that's very flimsy. They find somebody in the area who matches the descriptor black man, but nothing else about the witness's description. So that's not a good link between that person and the crime that was committed. And when that happens, you get lots of innocent people in identification procedures.
Eyewitness misidentification is one of the leading causes of wrongful convictions, and it's not hard to see why. It's incredibly compelling and persuasive evidence to a jury. If you can imagine sitting on a jury and hearing a whole case unfold, and you have an eyewitness who is in some cases also the victim of this crime get up on the stand and then point at the defendant in the courtroom and say, I have no doubt that that person is the person, it's incredibly compelling. But in reality, it shouldn't be, because it's also one of the least reliable, and that's because of how human memory works. Lighting, cross-racial identifications, the timing, viewing angle, when all of those things come into account, our memories just aren't up to snuff on that, and we make unreliable identifications. Eyewitness identification plays a role in so many of the cases we look at the Midwest Innocence Project, and one that will always come to mind is the Robert Fields case. On June 20th, 2015, There was a family, a woman, her boyfriend, and their child that in the early morning hours had returned to their residence, and 3 perpetrators came up to their car, one of which had a gun, and at the passenger side held a gun to the boyfriend's head. The way Mr. Fields is brought into this is 14 months after the crime, the victim was browsing the Union County Jail website and looking at mugshots, and Mr. Fields' mugshot was on the website for an unrelated forgery case, and she called up investigators and said that she had found the person that they were looking for and that it was Mr. Fields. So 14 months later, she's making an identification based off an incident that took seconds. It was dark. It was like 3 a.m., early morning hours. There were no lights on. I've been on that street. It's very dark at night, very little light. In addition, the viewing angle, you have to consider she was in the driver's seat. The perpetrator, the shooter, was outside the passenger window standing. Her own testimony indicates that she was looking at the ground, looking at her feet, so she had very little opportunity to get a good look at the shooter. To have all that memory last for 14 months to be able to make concrete identification is very flawed. Social science alone supports that this was a false identification, but beyond that, the eyewitness and victim herself has since recanted her identification, and she states that she's not sure it was Mr. Fields. And Mr. Fields was convicted on her testimony alone.
We've been studying eyewitness misidentification procedures and the problems with them for decades. And what makes this project unique, the project we're doing with Dr. Covera, is that it really is helping us understand how somebody comes to be placed in that procedure in the first place. We know from looking at wrongful convictions data that Black people are overrepresented in eyewitness misidentification cases. With this research, we want to see if that happens, starting with the investigation.
Well, eventually what I hope is that we can convince police departments that they need to have what we call an evidence-based suspicion standard before conducting an ID procedure. We believe that in order to not only decrease mistaken identifications, but also decrease racial bias in mistaken identifications, to have an evidence-based suspicion standard that has to be signed off on by someone other than the investigating officer will actually increase the likelihood that an identification that's made is correct, because we're getting more guilty suspects into those ID procedures, but also it will minimize the racial bias in the evidence that they require for white versus Black men and putting them into ID procedures.
We are waiting for our day in court with Mr. Fields' case. We essentially submitted an amended petition with all of the evidence that we had found during our investigation of the case and presented that to the court. We were unfortunately denied, and we are working on appealing that decision so that we can receive an evidentiary hearing for Mr. Fields and present all the evidence of his innocence.
When you support MIP, not only are you supporting the representation of innocent people who are convicted based on eyewitness misidentification, you're also supporting research to help identify ways to prevent it from happening to people in the future.
Good evening. My name is Marissa Todd, and I have the absolute pleasure to serve as the Deputy Director at the Midwest Innocence Project. As our evening starts to draw to a close, I wanted to take a moment to thank each of you for being here with us in Kansas City, and for those of you who are joining us online, thank you. We cannot do this work without the support of the community, and we are truly grateful for each and every one of you. If you haven't had a chance to donate yet tonight, you still can. Our auction is open for 15 more minutes online, and there are several great experiences that you can go online and bid on, including opportunities to visit with Ricky Kidd and Trisha Rojo Bushnell. So please go online, bid generously. In addition, the QR code on your fan and the pledge cards on your tables will allow you to donate and support the work that we do every day. Another way to support the Midwest Innocence Project is through our monthly giving program, Partners for Innocence. Events like tonight are wonderful, bringing us all together and creating a lot of impact in one day. But the work to undo wrongful convictions happens slowly over many years, and monthly donors sustain us on that journey. Whether it's $5, $25, even $100 per month, those regular donations allow us to keep things moving in between the fun celebrations like today. I hope you will consider becoming a partner for Innocence and help us fight for justice every day. You can find more information on our website, which you can get to at the QR code, or you can talk to any of our staff who are wearing their name tags. Finally, I'm excited to bring back to the stage my friend and colleague, Ricky Kidd, along with other directly impacted individuals to share in our closing remarks. Thank you.
Thank you. If I can ask Kevin Strickland, I don't see where you're at, LaQuanda Faye Jacob, if you're still in the building, and Larry or Lawrence Callanan, if you could join us on the stage real quick as we close out, please. Thank you. Whichever way is easy for you.
For those of you who don't know, I'm Kevin Strickland. I was arrested and wrongly convicted at the age of 18. I spent 43 years in prison for a crime I did not commit. And at this time, I'd simply like to thank the people responsible for helping with my release. There's so many people. I got a big family now. MIP, Brian and Kay, my favorite attorney over here, Bob Hoffman. And I just say that without the support and the donations from citizens like yourselves, MIP wouldn't have the funding, as Rick has already said, to assist people in their release. So please dig deep into your pocket, if you can, and donate to the fund for MIP's future cases they have to take on. As Rick has pointed out, there's just a few attorneys and they have to network outside of MIP to get help to take these cases. Fortunately, I had the state prosecutor file for my release, and I was vindicated November 21st, 23. And with that being said, I'd just like to say thank you.
Hello, everybody. Woo! I wasn't expect that. My name is Faye Jacobs. I spent over 26 years in prison for a crime I didn't commit. I went in at the age of 16 years old and got out in 2018. And I know some of y'all don't know me, and I don't know a lot of you donors, but I just want to say thank you, thank you, thank you. And it's because of you and you and you and you that we're all here. I'm just so grateful for everything that you do. And I know that I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you all that donated to the MIP. And I just want to encourage you to continue to give so other people like myself can come home, because there are so many other people still incarcerated that needs to come home too. Thank you.
This evening, we witnessed the continued success that the Midwest Innocence Project has been able to develop and achieve. You saw it with the development of our client release support program. You saw it with the video that highlighted some of the research we are participating in surrounding misidentification procedures. And you saw it with the recent homecoming of Lamar Johnson, Celeste McKinney, Brian Betts, and many other individuals who we are continuing to go back and bring home. We also witnessed courage and justice in Cheryl Pilot and Lindsey Reynolds, an example of why we are continuing to have collective success in freeing innocent folks from prison. Our achievements are indeed a collective effort. And what a display of it all across the venue tonight, and with many of you all joining us from your homes. Tonight, we have witnessed more faces of innocence. As my directly impacted brothers and sisters stand together on this stage, we represent the fruit of your labor and your generosity, and internally grateful that we finally made it home, while also recognizing that there are so many more of us needing to be freed. Here at the Midwest Innocence Project, we will continue to amplify the voice of the innocent and continue to fight for more just and equitable criminal legal systems. And we realize that the only way this mission can be achieved is together. Thank you all for coming out to join us, either here or from your home. We enjoyed our time together and look forward to what the next year will bring. Until we do this again, we would like for you to stay connected and to stay updated. You can do so by visiting our website or visiting our social medias. Thank you all. We appreciate you. God bless. Safe travels. Have a wonderful night. Thank you all so much. Thank you, and thank you again.